if you get a little better every day, everything's going to fall into place. So everyone talks about championships, right? And that's obviously a goal of ours, but you have to do what it takes to be a champion. Those are the things that we're talking about every day. And when we watch film, talking about what's a championship play and what's not a championship play. It's a long season, it goes fast, and it's really just building up to be, at that level where you're playing your best basketball in February.
Hello and welcome back to Monsignor Farrell High School. My name is Peter Kennedy, class of 2012, Director of Alumni Affairs. And right now I have the luxury of sitting with the new head basketball coach of Monsignor Farrell High School, Coach Dan Fischer. He's also the assistant principal here at Monsignor Farrell High School and class of 2005. Coach, this is your 19th year with the program. If you count your years as a student here, you have spent over 20 years here at Monsignor Farrell High School, now officially the head coach of Monsignor Farrell Basketball. In your wildest dreams of coaching here for 19 years, being a student here back in the early 2000s, did you picture sitting here today with me? Well, not with me, but in general.
It's everything comes full circle. I started coaching basketball while I was in high school. I started, coaching CYO, AAU. While I was in college, I had the opportunity. Coach Bob Riccardi, who means the world to me, offered me a spot as a JV assistant coach. So I started coaching with him in 2007, and everything just kind of fell into place from there.
Fast forward and championships on the lower levels, on the freshman level, on the JV level, on the varsity level. Now you get to take over as a head coach once again, because you were the head coach of the lower levels in the past, and a whole new journey begins. So obviously you had the luxury of working with a lot of these student athletes prior, because you were on the varsity staff last year, but now officially being the head coach. What for you has changed in your day-to-day, and then when you're on the court coaching?
The one thing I'll say is, especially coaching and working with Mike really delegated a lot to his assistant coaches. So the day-to-day hasn't changed much. I'm still involved in the practices, and I had to give a shout out to the 4 seniors. They've made my transition from assistant coach to head coach very smooth. JJ, Matt, James Hutchinson, and Ryan Tate. They've made my transition, very smooth, and they've been great ambassadors of the program, great leaders of the program, and this is a perfect year for me to segue into this role because of those 4.
Right, and I was just talking to them earlier, and it's crazy when they're sophomores on varsity. You always forget when you watch them on the court, like, oh wow, we got these guys for 2 more years. Hanley's only a junior. This guy's only a sophomore, and you really get to build up that culture. And they spoke about you trying to create the culture, and they want to be part of you setting that culture for your first year. So obviously, Coach Mike Dunn, winningest coach in Farrell basketball history, your shoes are big to fill. And I think you know that, and I think you care about that. So what has it been like being the guy after Mike Dunn, who obviously means a ton to you?
I was asked this question, and Mike doesn't think I was being truthful. When we had CHSA Media Day 2 weeks ago, the first question they asked me was, how am I going to replace a legend? I really feel Mike has helped me evolve and be ready for this role. I owe Mike, everything he's helped me shape to be the coach I am, the leader I am, the person I am. So I don't feel pressure filling his role, but I do take it, very seriously, because the way he's evolved and molded this program, I want to just make it better and just keep evolving it and making it better.
Right, just like when he took over around 2010, he wanted to continue to push the legacy of this school and the program forward. You want to continue to do the same thing. And I jokingly said this to you before when I saw you in the hallway, so I do want to ask this to you now. You have had the luxury and the blessings of being part of championship teams. Around the lower levels, you were head coach of championship teams. You've been assistant on championship teams. Now on the varsity level, just a few years ago, on the staff for a championship team. So to you, when you're giving your messages to the team, when you're talking to your staff, planning out the year, what are the key factors that can put a team to that championship pedigree?
Listen, obviously you need to win with talent, right? But then after talent comes that chemistry and that connectedness, right? And this year we're talking about being a strong nucleus, right? A nucleus is the core of everything you're at. So for us, being connected in everything we do at practice, hanging out after school, You know, a lot of times in the preseason we did captain's workouts on Sunday where, you know, they worked out together and then they went to get breakfast or something. You know, just building that team chemistry and that bond and being connected is so important for the success, you know, of a team. And again, that's where our 4 seniors have really taken ownership of it and have been great leaders.
Yeah, it's that top-down effect, right? When you have the coaching staff that's bought in, you have seniors that are bought in, juniors, sophomores, managers, the whole nine. So we'll get to talking about the managers in a little bit. I got questions for one of my guys specifically, but I'm kind of kidding about that. But then now that the season's here, basically, right? We're recording this a week prior to opening night, where we're sitting right now. If you looked up past where the camera is, it's going to be mayhem. If you look behind us, it's going to be mayhem. What excites you about that being so close now? Does it give a different energy, a different air to the practices and the post-game, you know, film breakdowns, et cetera?
Yeah, listen, as you get closer and closer to Thanksgiving Eve, you feel the excitement in the gym, right? We had a very good practice last night. We have a scrimmage in about an hour. You know, so the more you approach the date, you know, the energy level does come up. We're super excited. We're excited for the year. I think we're going to have, you know, a great year. You know, and I think we're going to be able to put our best foot forward.
And now with that best foot going forward, what's the mindset? What's the identity of this team? When you think about on the court, whether it be offensively or defensively or both, what is going to be the identity, or what do you want to be the identity of this club?
You know, I think what's important for us, and you know, a lot of people have asked me, like, oh, what are you going to do differently, you know, from Coach Dunn? And you know, it's not so much what we're going to do differently. Every year we adjusted based on our personnel, right? We weren't, you know, we had, you know, we made changes every year offensively and defensively based on what we feel would work best for us with schemes and tendencies and plays. But what is important is that the culture and that nucleus of who we are is going to remain the same.
Right.
And I think that's what has helped us be successful, you know, winning in 2016, 17, you know, winning the Federation in 2023. So the core of who we are is going to remain the same, but, you know, specifically for this year, you know, I think we're going to be pretty deep. I'm confident in being able to play, you know, a lot of different guys in a lot of different positions. So, you know, we want to speed up the game a little bit. We definitely want to apply pressure. We want to run the floor. You know, got a lot of guys who can, you know, score the basketball. So talking about playing unselfish and making the extra pass and really just appreciating seeing the success of your teammates, right? And that's, you know, that goes back to that core that we talked about.
When I asked JJ and Matt that question, that was something that JJ said. He goes, well, something that excites me is ball movement. Yep. You know, and with ball movement, you know, as a coach, it doesn't mean just ball movement. It means off-ball movement as well. That makes the ball movement mean something, right? So when you, and I asked them this question too, when you watch either college ball or pro ball, is there a certain team or style or even player specifically that you look at that you would want to tell your guys, hey, watch how this team plays, watch how that guy plays, I want to emulate that style of, or et cetera? So
I'm curious to what JJ answered, because I told JJ all summer and fall just to watch, you know, clips on Steph Curry.
Okay,
you
he
know,
did not say that.
Because I
not to call him out, but he did not say that.
I did, you know, because I always say Steph Curry's biggest strength is not his shooting. Everyone thinks it's his shooting, but it's the ability to move without the ball.
100%.
You know, obviously everyone in the league knows he could score it, right, and he could shoot it. You know, and people who don't know basketball will say, how does he still get open? Like, how does he, you know, how does his teammates still find him? Like, what is the other team doing, right? And it's just two things. One, his teammates looking for him and his teammates setting him up, and how he sets himself up to be, you know, to be successful.
And I love that answer, because really when you think about Stephen Curry's greatest attributes or greatest statistics, you can point to the most threes of all time, the most threes in a single season, the 60-point games, et cetera. But if he every single year is at his best, he's leading the league in miles run on the court. And that's because he's not only chasing guys on defense, but on offense, he's giving the ball up, running off 14 screens, getting it back, and ready to shoot no matter how he catches the ball. And
you got to be in good shape.
I don't want to throw shade at another NBA player, but when Trae Young came into the fold here and everybody wanted to make the Stephen Curry comp because of the long threes, I used to drive myself nuts. He plays nothing like Steph Curry. He's a ball-dominant point guard who's going to run pick and rolls and be incredibly effective, make great passes, make great shots, etc. They don't play alike at all. And I think that when people say Steph Curry, ruined basketball because of the three-point shooting, they are missing the obvious, which is what you're talking about, which inspires ball movement, great passing, and really team basketball. That's how he plays. Sorry, I went on my high horse of basketball talk.
He definitely evolved the game, right? And to go back to your original question. I'm a YouTube junkie, so I'm always looking up YouTube for not so much plays to run, but actions and tendencies to run. I think even at the high school level, over the last 7-8 years, right before COVID, the high school game has evolved with local live and scouting. So when I first started coaching, I remember being a varsity assistant coach, freshman head coach. Going out to the Bronx on a Sunday to watch a triple header, Scanlon versus Fordham, because it was the last regular season game, and all three levels were going to play one of those, those teams in the city playoffs. No film exchange, no local live, so no huddle. So I just had to go with a pen and paper and a pad and write down who their players were. So now with local live and sports engine and huddle, you got to try to be a little unpredictable, right? Because the league that we play in, the league I coach in, tremendous coaches, right? So they do their homework, they're prepared, so to try to be a little unpredictable is important.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I always joke about the stories, people driving, meeting on a highway to exchange DVDs. Even, I don't feel like I'm a very old guy, but when I was here as a senior in high school, I went to the senior night thing with 12 DVDs to hand to coaches. And if I ran out of DVDs, then no more coaches were getting to watch my tape, right? So times have changed quite a bit.
CHSFL football has been doing it since the 80s,
which is,
film exchange.
Which literal film, literal film exchange. It was very, very wild how the times have changed, and the game has changed a ton as well. So do you find that the high school level emulates college more than the NBA? I would say so.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right,
I mean, obviously speed, strength, spacing. But definitely more similarities to the college game.
Is there a college coach, perhaps, that maybe you have always kind of admired their style, whether it be XO or personality-wise?
So I got enamored with Brad Stevens back when he was at Butler, and he made his run with Butler in 2010, 2011. That's when I first started coaching the freshman team as a head coach. So when they made that first run against Duke with Gordon Hayward, just the fact that they made that run, I started reading up on who he was, Brad Stevens and what he did. Then they did it again. I was like, all right, maybe one time they're lucky, but then to do it 2 years in a row, I'm like, maybe coaching's not overrated, right? This guy knows what he's doing. So kind of always looked up stuff that he did, and he's you talk about culture, he's a big culture guy, practice guy. And I kind of followed him through up until the Celtics, and that's one of the teams that I still kind of watch, even with Joe Mazzulla now, who's a disciple of Brad Stevens. Current, college coaches, Duke, Shire, always find some good stuff that he does, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They preach, spacing, ball movement, a lot of the stuff we do, so it helps.
Now talking about your team, we haven't gotten too much specifics yet on the team. Let's talk about some returning guys, because you have, I believe, your entire starting lineup from last year is back, right? There was, you got JJ and Matt, who we spoke to, or you'll hear from in a moment here on this video. Hanley, Gomez, and Abreu all were starting last year at different points of the season. They're all returning back. What's it like for a coach to have all those returning guys, and who are you going to lean on this year?
Yeah, so all five of the, Matt, JJ, came up as sophomores. Matt took a little bit of a starting role at some point his sophomore year. Both JJ and Matt saw major minutes last year. And then Jack, Hanley, and Michael Brew came up as sophomores. All of them started at significant points during the season. We did have some injuries last year, which hurt us during last season, but allowed those guys to grow into their role. So really looking for those 5 to be leaders of our team and our program. You know, I tell Jack, Michael Brew, and Ryan Hanley all the time that even though they're juniors, we expect them to play like seniors.
Right.
You know, they saw a good amount of minutes last year as sophomores, and you know the expectation now is that they're going to play at that high level, and I have the most confidence that they will. They're gamers.
Yeah. Now, basketball is obviously a sport that you've got to play on both sides of the ball,
Yep.
but I do want to kind of phrase this question in a certain way. Is there somebody outside of the guys we just mentioned who you're looking to rely a bit on the offensive side of the ball? Who's somebody that you think could pack a real scoring punch for you, whether it be off the bench or even one of the guys that you didn't get to talk about much yet?
You know, Ryan Hanley could score in multiple ways. He's going to be multi-dimensional for us. We're going to be able to put him in the post. He's worked on his outside game. He could shoot it. You know, he could face up and get to the rim. So we're blessed to have him because we're going to be able to put him on different spots on the floor depending on matchups. Jack Gomez has really improved his shooting ability. So he's going to be able to stretch defenses out. You know, obviously, JJ has the green light and can shoot from anywhere. You know, Matt's a great shooter. Matt's also, Scalisi is very good at getting to the rim. You know, off the bench, and other guys that we're going to look for to contribute. James Hutchison, returning senior, had a great summer and fall. He's gotten stronger. He's really worked on his skill development. He's really progressed, and we're really looking forward to him to be an impact player this year, for us.
Now, defensively, any standouts? I know obviously the whole team's got to play defense.
Yep.
That's obvious,
That's
especially with a Farrell team, with a Coach Fischer team.
Yep.
Got to play defense. But who's somebody who you think could at least be a next level game breaker defensively?
Yeah, so Matt Scalisi has been our defensive stopper, for 2 years.
Can you guess who he called out as one of his player comps or somebody that he wants to emulate?
At what level?
At the NBA level. You probably won't guess it unless he talks about this guy frequently, but you'll be happy to hear it when you hear it.
Well, give it to me.
Jose Alvarado.
Okay.
He said he wants to emulate the energy, the defensive grit,
I like it.
And just keeping offensive players on their heels.
I coached against him when he was at Christ the King.
You were a guy.
He was on the freshman team at Christ the King.
And I believe people don't realize
they beat us by about probably 30.
In the NBA, he's not really much of a scorer. He'll hit some shots. He'll make some plays. In high school, the guy was a bucket.
Yep. He was tough.
He was crazy good. Yeah,
he was tough.
It's a different level up there.
With Matt being our point guard though and having the ball in his hands, I'm not going to be able to expect him to chase around the other team's best players, all game. So, that's where, Jack Gomez, another steady defender, tough. He's going to drive other guards, crazy with his ball pressure. We have a lot of guys that can defend and can defend different positions as well, which is good because it'll allow us to do different things.
Yeah, and now on the coaching staff.
Yep.
Mike Dunn, former coach, really proud of himself on having a strong staff that he can lean on. You got a great staff now too.
Everyone's back.
Who do you want to highlight from the staff?
I'm gonna
go down the line.
I'm gonna go down the line. Devin Dunn, classmate of yours, class of 12. I coached him when he was a JV player, and I was an assistant coach on the JV. Super basketball mind. My right hand man. He's great. He's going to kind of be like the defensive coordinator. Be in charge of defensive game plan. Matchups in games. Kids respect the hell out of him. He knows his stuff. Played at the college level, so knows what it takes and helps these guys understand what it takes to play at a high level.
Right.
Jay Ziris, another legend. Ton of coaching experience. Coached down at St. Joseph by the Sea with the girls program. Coached with me on the freshman level. Really enjoyed my time when I was the freshman coach and he was an assistant. I learned a lot from him. Very good assistant coach. Sits back, watches, observes. He does a lot of game management stuff. Keeps track of fouls and rotations a little bit, subs. Knows when guys need a blow. Joe Ziris, again played on our 2016 Staten Island High School League championship team. Also played on our First City championship team.
Right.
Played at the college level. Knows the game. You know,
We'll still give anyone on the team buckets.
he hopped in yesterday, blocked JJ shot. I'm sure Jay didn't mention that.
Yeah.
Billy Falkenhainer, you know,
Another Farrell
another Farrell alum, 2007, part of championship teams. You know, Coach Ed Latendra, Tom McGough, who've been around for a long time. They travel from Jersey every day to come to practice. So, you know, the fact that they're that selfless to give of their time and travel over the bridge, gas money, tolls, just to be a part of, you know, what we do at Farrell, that means the world to me, and that means the world, I know, to the kids. So that's we talk about that nucleus and that core, you know, that's so important to us.
Yeah, special stuff. And now class of 05 has their fingerprints on the athletics here at Monsignor Farrell pretty intensely. In the fall, you have Coach Rocco Del Pieri, class 2005, the head coach of the football team. Now, Coach Dan Fischer, class 2005, head coach of the Farrell basketball team. What is that like to have the class of 05 have such a strong impact on this school's, you know, two of the bigger programs?
Yeah. Our class was always very connected here. While we were here, unfortunately, we had some tragedy. You know, our junior year, we lost 3 of our classmates, and that really, you know, bonded us together. And not besides just Rocco and myself, you know, we have Chris Baldessano, who teaches here. You know, Steve Rossiter was working, you know, in the weight room for a long time. You know, other guys are on Rocco's staff from the class of 05. So it's just, you know, it just shows what Farrell is, right? You know, it shows how important this place is, and you know, how people want to come back and give back.
Yeah. Now, last question for you, Coach, and thank you so much for your time here today. What is, you know, you don't have to get too specific, you don't have to give away all the secrets, but what is the goal for you and this team entering this season? Obviously, goals can change over time, but what, as we sit here today, a week before opening night, what is the goal for you entering this season?
You know, I think our goal is to be the best we could be every day. In practice, you know, you practice every day, and, you know, to put your best foot forward. And we truly believe, and this is something that we've been instilling in our men, that if you get a little better every day, everything's going to fall into place. So everyone talks about championships, right? And that's obviously a goal of ours, but you have to do what it takes to be a champion. And that's, you know, those are the things that we're talking about every day. And, you know, when we watch film, talking about what's a championship play and what's not a championship play. And, you know, the season's long. You know, it's a long season. It goes fast. And it's really just building up to be, you know, at that level where you're playing your best basketball in February.
There you go. All right. Coach Dan Fischer, class 2005, assistant principal here at Monsignor Farrell High School, as well as obviously the head basketball coach of Monsignor Farrell High School. Wait, hold on.
Good.
You got some managers on the squad.
Yes, I was going to ask. Good.
The managers are hugely important to this program, and a couple of them are very close to my program, the sports broadcasting program. You see them on Sports Engine. When you think about Mr. Cordero and Mr. Balzano, amongst others, what does it mean to have guys like that invest in this program?
Listen, I think it talks about the importance of how everyone, you know, makes an impact and how everyone's important. You know, I have 4 managers who have all been coming to practice every day and have been dedicated. Rob Helbig, who's a junior, who's been with that group since they were freshmen. Mike Cordero, same thing, who's been with that group since he walked in the door his freshman year. He transferred in, you know, the middle of his freshman year, and he just, you know, joins right away. Pietro Scarzo, you know, a junior, the kids love him. And then, you know, our friend Giuseppe, who's a sophomore, you know, who's a big sports broadcaster. You know, Giuseppe is a kid who just wants to learn the game. He wants to know the game. He does a great job with the broadcasting, and you know, he does a lot of good stuff for us. I don't know if he always knows basketball though. He says some outlandish things sometimes, and we go back and forth. But he's great.
And I know he keeps the stats as well.
Yes.
And I'm sure a bunch of guys like Giuseppe, you got to give me an assist for that one. What are we doing here? That's an assist. You know, give me the rebound, whatever.
Yeah, when we track turnovers at practice, maybe Giuseppe's not the most popular guy in the gym that day.
Because he'll call
the guys on the team, you know, they may not like Giuseppe after that practice.
But that's funny. Well, if you want to hear more from Giuseppe Balzano, you can check out the 5 Out podcast on the Monsignor Farrell Podcast Network right here on YouTube as well. But this is the Monsignor Farrell High School page on YouTube. Follow us for more videos like this, as well as more updates around the school. But for now, that's all we got. And if you want to see the Farrell Basketball Lions taking the court, this court that you see right here, follow us on our Sports Engine page. Look up Monsignor Farrell High School. And of course, check our website for the calendar so you can make your way to 2900 Amboy Road to support in person if you can as well. For Dan Fisher, Class 2005, my name is Pete Kennedy, Class 2012, Director of Alumni Affairs. That's all we got. Signing off. Hello and welcome back to Monsignor Farrell High School. My name is Peter Kennedy, Class of 2012 and Director of Alumni Affairs. Excited for another basketball season here at Monsignor Farrell. We're right here at half court with two guys who are named captain of the team for the 2025-2026 season. We have Matthew Scalisi and JJ Yates. I just said I would call him Matt and I called him Matthew anyway, but that's all good.
All good.
Matt
all
and
good.
JJ, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, yeah. And I think a great place to start for us here today, this being your third year both on the varsity level, right? So came up as sophomores. Experience is something that you guys should have as an advantage. So first and foremost, what does it feel like now being the old heads on the team? You guys started this journey on varsity basketball as sophomores. Now you're going to be seniors, named captains. What does it feel like to now be the elder classmen?
It feels weird. It feels like, just yesterday that we were both sophomores, on that 2023-24 team, and that we were working our way through, the system. But now we're seniors. It's like, wow. It all happened just like that. Mm-hmm. And now here we are, senior season. So it feels weird, doesn't feel real, but is what it is.
What about you, Jimmy?
Yeah, 100%. It definitely went by very quick. Learned a lot, but it does feel great to be the oldest on the team, be leaders to the younger guys. So it's definitely weird, but also a very good experience to have.
So now that we're, this recording is about a week from the opening regular season game. Obviously, you have scrimmages before that. What has been the mindset and energy around the team, preseason, all summer long, and now preseason leading up to the first game of the year? JJ, I'll start with you.
Definitely with the coaching switch from Coach Dunn now to Coach Fischer, we did throw in some new things, but it's pretty much been the same stuff. We've just been playing the same tempo with the same way we do all the time. So just pretty much staying focused with all the little details we have and just learning from each practice.
And Matt, what excites you now about another season on the horizon? You have a whole new opportunity to win basketball games. What are you most excited about?
I'm most excited about just playing with my boys. Like you said before, JJ and I, we've been playing together since freshman year as freshmen, and then we did 3 years on varsity together. And new coaching switch. So I'm excited for new experience, and a lot of energy has been around the team. It's all about building a culture, and we've been doing that ever since day one. So I'm really excited to see how that translates into the regular season.
And now we already spoke a little bit about being the older guys on the team now, right? The onks, if you will.
Yeah.
What is kind of the leadership mentality that you guys have? Obviously named captains, congratulations. What did that feel like getting that position on the team? And what is the mindset for you guys to be leaders amongst your peers who are other seniors on the team, juniors, and some sophomores?
It felt good, and it was definitely earned by both of us, 100%. And we were both seen as leaders last year, even, and being able to have the official title now as captains, it's a great feeling, and we just want to set the example. And with Coach Fischer's first year here as head coach, we want to set the standard, and we want to set the blueprint for Farrell basketball for next years to come.
Yeah, 100%. You couldn't have said it better. We definitely have to lead by example. We can't take any days off, can't slack in practice, so the younger guys know how to follow in our roles. But no, that's pretty much, he couldn't have said it any better. We just have to show everyone how it is to be a leader.
Now, is there any good cop, bad cop with the leadership styles? Like anyone a little more hardcore, anyone more vocal? What's the style for you, JJ? Like captain, leader, JJ. Are you a vocal rah-rah guy? Are you putting your head down and just going to work? What's your mentality?
I would say I'm a little vocal. I would say I'm more quiet than Matt. I'm not trying to point him as bad cop, but he is definitely tougher on the kids. But no, I think we definitely do well with each other, helping everyone out. So I think we do well as good captains.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that. I definitely get a lot angrier. I want to say, I'd say angrier.
Intense. We
intense.
can say intense.
Yeah. I know. I like being vocal out there. I like being loud, and it's important to have both sides of the spectrum. And I think that we both fit our roles perfectly.
Yeah, and when I said good cop, bad cop, maybe that was a bad vocabulary to use because it doesn't mean good and bad. It's just different styles, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's good. So, and obviously your styles on the court are different too. I would say that JJ has that little more touch finesse to his game. You're a little bit more bruiser mentality sometimes on the court. Not that you don't have touch or you don't have the bruiser mentality, but from an overall standpoint, right? So now, from a stylistic standpoint, what do you see to be strengths for this team? Obviously, you guys are part of those strengths, but at the big picture, what is the strength of this year's team, Matt?
I think that we're, all around, just everyone complements each other. So even though our styles may be different, between JJ and I know our games complement each other. Maybe I'm, good getting to the rim and then finding him for an open three-pointer. And, that just goes for the whole team. Everyone's good at complementing each other. We know each other's strengths, and we're pretty good at knowing how to get each other better and knowing how to set each other up for, success.
Right. Now, JJ, what do you want to see from this team? What is what's exciting you about what this team can accomplish on the court this year?
Pretty much how well we move the ball together. I mean, I would say the last 2 years we've had a little struggles with scoring the ball, and in a couple of scrimmages we've had so far, we've definitely been scoring the ball while moving the ball. Everyone's been getting a bunch of shots up, so that definitely looks like a big improvement so far.
Now let's talk about some of those teammates that have been scoring the ball so far preseason that you're going to be counting on throughout the year. Who are some of the other upperclassmen, juniors or seniors, that are standing out to you right now as people who could really make a contribution? JJ, sorry.
The two guys I'll name so far have been Micah Brew and James Hutchinson. Mike started last year for most games as a sophomore. He plays with a lot of grit, very tough. Will pretty much play. He's about my height, but plays like he's the biggest guy on the court. So he definitely plays very hard. And James Hutchinson has been starting in all the scrimmages so far. He's been playing very tough, been pretty much doing all the little things that are needed to win.
Right. What about you, Matt?
I'll name Jack Gomez and Ryan Hanley, two sophomores last year that saw significant minutes for us, even in the postseason, which I think is huge for, any player, especially that's returning. And, now that they're here as juniors, they're kind of going through the same thing that JJ and I went through, seeing that sophomore year on varsity, getting good contributions, now translating that to junior year. To have the experience already coming in as juniors, it's just success all around. That experience is, it's an advantage.
Yeah, and from my perspective, watching you guys now for a couple of years and watching from the stands or up at the broadcast booth area, I always forget that you guys were just juniors last year, because seeing people on varsity for multiple years, it messes with our minds.
Yep.
Like, wait, this guy's only a junior. All right, if we get JJ and Matt back next year.
Yeah.
Oh, Hanley and Gomez, they're only juniors. This should be got for another year. So it's exciting, but it's opportunity, right? Just like you said, you have to take advantage of these chances, and now they're juniors. You guys are seniors, still an opportunity in front of you guys. So now with Coach Fischer at the helm, it's not like it's somebody new to you guys. He was working with the team for, it's been probably 12 to 15 years already.
Yeah.
He's been with the program. He's been with varsity for your guys' entire career. What has it been like seeing him step into a new position and, you guys all together trying to figure this thing out?
Well, at the start, it was definitely a struggle, I think, for the team. Just the culture and our identity wasn't set yet, but only after a couple of practices and we adjusted from our first scrimmage and we made some changes, and ever since then we have a culture, we have our motto, we have our morals, our ideals, and he's been at the forefront of all that, and he's really hitting the nail with the hammer on what he expects from us, and it's nothing new really, but
right.
With him at the helm, it's all about setting a standard.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's new but not new.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's a guy who is very much in charge of the team already as one of the head assistants, the offensive coordinator, I believe was his title last year.
Yeah.
Now he's stepping up one more rung and is following the footsteps of Coach Dunn, who's had so much success here. Most winningest coach in program history. So it's big shoes to fill. But what have you seen from Coach Fischer for his chances to fill those shoes?
No, he's definitely ready to be that guy. If there was any guy to do it, it would be him. He's definitely been leading us well, been coaching well. He hasn't let us down at all. There was never any doubt with him taking the role. So all positives have been there so far.
All right, so let's have some fun now. We talked serious for a little while here. So let's talk about the game of basketball a little bit in general. So obviously you guys are not just hoopers yourselves. I'm sure you're huge hoops fans.
Yep.
I know I've spoken about ball with you guys in general. So when you're watching throughout the week, the NBA level, is there anyone who stands out that maybe you model your game after, or somebody that you aspire to play like? I mean, maybe, if you say somebody who's throwing down 360 windmills, we're not there yet. You're still maybe get a couple more inches on the vert coming up in a few years. But who do you model your game after, Matt?
Oh, that's a tough question, especially looking at the NBA.
And it could be a mixture of a few guys if you want. If you want to call out a few different guys that you like how they play and want to emulate that style.
I'll say one that I think is going to be unexpected. I'll say Jose Alvarado. I'm not sure if he's in the NBA still.
He still is. Shout out, New York guy.
Yeah.
Shout out.
But I like his intensity on defense. You don't see a lot of that in the NBA anymore. And he's one of those guys, especially I think it was a couple years ago, he had that big run of the sneaky Alvarado sitting in the corner and getting the back taps. But not even just that, like his intensity and defense in the NBA is just something that I try and bring to the court every single day. It's just hard-nosed defense.
I would say he's a guy, too, that although in the NBA undersized, carried himself like he belonged.
Yeah.
And that's a mentality that I think Coach Fischer, Coach Dunn, all you guys have tried to carry. No matter who we're playing against, no matter where the game is, we have to carry ourselves like we belong here. Like we are on this court for a reason. And then you guys have done that for 2 years now. Now it's pretty obvious you guys, you belong.
Yeah.
So I like that call out. JJ, who do you call out there?
I would say Luka Doncic a little bit.
Nice.
I mean, he plays at his own pace, which I feel like I kind of do. He's able to get others involved, get his shots off. So I would say a little bit of him.
Very nice. I like that. Luka Doncic, he's got the whole package, too.
Does.
Yeah, he's putting up near triple-doubles on the regular, too. So let's see. You got any triple-doubles for either of you in the future this year?
Who knows?
Triple-doubles?
Hey, whatever gets the job done.
That's
Whatever,
right.
whatever,
That's the answer.
That's the good answer.
whatever
That's
gets,
the good
whoever
answer.
gets the win, right? Come on.
Yeah, that's nice. That's very good. All right, here's another question for you guys. Matthew Scalisi, JJ Yates, one-on-one, no twos. Who wins?
No twos.
No twos.
Three dribbles only.
3 dribbles only. I mean, we've had this scenario so many times in practice.
Yeah, we have.
And it has gone both ways, but
Yeah.
it's really, I think it depends on, honestly, I can't even answer that. I'd have to give it to him because he's been the leading scorer for us last year, and he was even a leading scorer as a sophomore. And, sometimes, well, most of the times in his case, good offense just beats good defense.
Yeah.
So I'd have to give him the one on that one.
Respectful answer right there. I like that answer.
No twos is tough. 3
Yeah.
dribbles. I mean, he does hit a lot of tough shots.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. He hits a lot of tough shots, so that could really go either way.
Oh, I threw the 3 dribbles, no twos on it because I feel like if you go twos, you can really kind of make an argument for whoever has the ball first.
That's
I've
true.
seen both of them shoot in practice. If we're going twos, all of a sudden one dribble pull up and whoever hits the
Yeah.
first 2 is like, they got such an unsurmountable lead. That's why I made that surrounding for that game there. But Matt gets to his little dribble pull up on the elbow.
Pretty much
That's tough.
unstoppable. It's
JJ gets his
unstoppable.
pivot foot turned and now all of a sudden he's fade away. You could play great defense. He's making that
that shot, yeah.
Right? So that's good stuff. Now, let's go rapid fire here about some guys on the team. You guys are out.
All right.
Okay.
You guys are out of this game here.
right.
Really quick. Best defender on the team.
Jack.
Jack Gomez?
Yeah. Jack Gomez.
Both of you guys agree.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. He brings the intensity in practice.
Best shooter on the team.
Ooh, I'm going to go Hutch.
Again, you guys are out.
I'm between Hutch and Hanley.
Between Hutch and Hanley. Okay, very good. Best handles.
Jack. Yeah.
Best finisher around the rim.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go Mike. I'm gonna
Mike.
go
I'll-
Mike Abreu.
Yeah.
I would say between either a Brew or Hanley.
Very good. Sprints are on the line. Many sprints, suicides on the line. You have to hit 2 free throws, swish, not touching the rim. You guys are out. Who are you putting at the line?
I'll put a Brew at the line.
Abreu at the line. Everyone who's played basketball knows that coaches, if you're running sprints sometimes, all right, hit these free throws, you hit them, you run less, or you don't have to run at all. I'm talking they have to swish. You're at the line. The last suicides of the day. Who's at the line, JJ?
I'm gonna give it to the sophomore. I'm gonna say Colin.
Ooh.
Colin.
Yeah.
Very nice. I like that. Talk about Colin for a second because he's a sophomore who's coming up.
Yep.
Had a great year last year on the freshman level. He's got the size. He's got skill.
Yeah.
What do you need from him this year?
I mean, definitely. Like, he's probably the tallest kid on the team. He has the size. We could really use him in multiple ways, inside and out. So as long as he's doing the little things, he's just getting into the right spots and all that. He could definitely be a big piece of this team.
That's Colin Burke, by the way. I forgot to say his last name.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Last question. Who is the best dancer on the team?
Best
Best
dancer.
So post game, you win a huge one. Coach Fischer hits 50 push-ups in the locker room, a la Coach Dunn. Now the whole team's in a circle. Music's on. Who's getting in there and breaking it down the best?
You know what? I'm going to say Ryan Tate.
Yeah,
got-
RJ
Yeah,
Tate.
yeah, Ryan Tate, 100%.
I got Ryan Tate.
Ryan Tate, 100%.
I got Ryan Tate in there.
Yeah.
That's very good. All right, this was great. Good luck
Yeah.
to you guys. Matt
Thank you.
Scalisi, senior, class of 2026. JJ Yates, senior, class of 2026. Co-captains here for Farrell Basketball this upcoming season. Follow them all year long. MFHS Basketball on Instagram. You can follow us on YouTube right here, as well as watch the streams on Sports Engine. Look up Monsignor Farrell High School, as well as obviously coming to 2900 Amboy Road to support the boys in person. So thank you as always.
Yeah.
For Pete Kennedy, class 2012, signing off.